All right, so we're back. I'm here with my main brother, JR. Different mothers, same father. My main man, JR. I was away, so we'll find our rhythm in a little second. 8 nights at a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation retreat. So that was fun. I'm sure we'll get into that. Man, just I feel that last episode we really killed it. Was really like from the heart. I just felt like we're finding a good stride. So I'm really grateful for you, man. So thank you.
Now, I hear Joe Dispenza say all the time that we could change people's physiology 7 days at the retreat. Did your physiology change? Tell us about it.
Yes. And I had been before, this is my third week long, but I hadn't been to the event where I kind of came a couple days earlier, got to like ground and be in the beach and go to the spa and do some things. And then, the kids came through a couple days because we don't live far from there. So it was just kind of nice. I got to take some time for myself. So, the event, day one, day two, you're still kind of caught up on things and you're still kind of finding the groove, and the group is still finding the room, because I think it was like 1,500 people there. So it's a big,
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot of people. And JR means sincerely, some people that come in, they're coming in on a stretcher, like literally and metaphorically. Like this is their last, like they're coming in for a coherence healing, what he calls almost like a healing, where you put like, healies together and you heal them with your own energy. So you combine with the group energy and you end up sending out really love into the field, and you end up seeing if you can cause a change in their physiology. But man, it was that gave me a lot of perspective. So just to answer your question, I can go off on a lot of rants, but to answer your question directly, it did change my physiology. The biggest thing I took away from it is this power of, and it's going to sound cliche, I'm just at a place where I care so much about people, but I'm no longer attached for like approval or what they think of me or these things, Jay. Man, because I know how good it feels to have an open heart. And I'm not just talking about it. Like in the event I experienced, like I had to fight with myself to open it, Jay. What happens is in the world, you end up closing it, right? You get hurt over here, or this happens, or that happens. And like on its own, it closes. So when you give it your attention and your energy, it starts to heal, and you meditate. And he's got a couple meditations. He calls it the heart brain coherence. So in essence, you're opening up your heart. And as the heart opens up, it causes coherence with the mind. But again, your brother and my brother said this years ago, the Sacred Heart of Christ. Once that heart opens up, the heart then informs the mind. It isn't the mind that we want, it's the heart. The heart then informs the mind, because only the heart can heal. Only the heart is going to give us this peace, this love, this joy. Otherwise, we would have found in the mind. But if the heart is closed, Jay, you're in the survival emotions. You're in fear. You're in doubt. You're in the flesh, right? If the heart closes, once the heart opens, this is why they call it the Sacred Heart of Jesus, right? This is why. But again, it's the heart, it's love. Whether you go through religion or whatever way your path is, I'm indifferent. But ultimately, we're all looking to open up the heart. From there, we can get into the present moment. Jay, if the heart is closed, you can't get into the present moment. It's not a time to open the heart and be vulnerable. It's a time to break shit and run. It's a fight or flight. You know what I mean, Jay? So slowing down and then opening up the heart. And then obviously you've got to purify the heart, because the heart's got so much stuff in there that it's got to be purified, but you can't do it of your own self, right? Spirit, cosmic, the universe, source, infinite intelligence, God conscious, whatever you want to do has to help you clean the heart, because it's got trauma, right? So but the heart still needs purification, in terms of like, that's what I meant, purification. It still needs to, and I literally felt that happen throughout. It was a process, right? It was like a peeling back an onion, But the more, like we're always talking about on this journey, is the more you surrender and trust, the easier it happens. The path is surrender. It isn't the obstacle is the way. No, surrender is the way. Surrender is the way. And I'm trying to tell you everything that happens in 7 days, but this onion kept peeling and peeling. And it wasn't just the onion of intellectual knowledge. It was an onion of actual opening of the heart. And then what happens? You just want to serve. You think our brother healed these people with a closed heart? Impossible. And when the heart is open is the only time you can be present, Jay. If the heart is closed, you can't be present, because you can't trust the unknown. If the heart's open, Jay, you have to trust and surrender to the present moment, and you don't know what's going to happen. I said a lot, so I'm going to just chill for a minute.
What? So, how do you? I'm curious. What's the process for purifying your heart to make it ready? Because you had to purify it first to allow it to open up, and then once your heart opens, I heard you say that then you realize you're made to serve. So what kind of how did you purify your heart?
I don't know that I did, to be honest with you. Matter of fact, thank you for correcting me. I know I didn't, because if I did, I'd have done it before. If I know of myself, I did that. Like, so these teachings, or that comes down, whether, Jay, it's through this or some Christ teachings or some teachings from wherever they are. Like I don't see that. I don't see the science. I don't roll. I just see the magic in it. And when I of myself, I couldn't do that. And that got really clear to me in the present, like, hey, you're gonna need some help in opening this heart. So I saw some beings, for lack of a better term, in the meditation, like come down and you could see where it was dark, and they just kind of like open that up, and then like that one wasn't enough in that meditation. Then somebody else came, I don't know who, probably someone in the Christ Collective, you know, some of them helped the rest of the cleaning, and they're like, hey, now it's on you to like, don't close it back up, because the habit is to close it back up. So what the only thing I did is I surrendered to the process. I trusted the process. I kept showing up for myself. Like I kept putting my will above the old program, which, Jay, that in alone we can spend a whole few podcasts on, but that really was super hard. It's really David against Goliath, because you're overcoming yourself, because the part of you that isn't love, Jay, this is powerful. The part of you, Jay, that isn't love has to die. You can't open the heart if there's still anything that's not love in you, right? They won't come help you, right? Because you're like, all right, well, we honor your free will. And your free will says you aren't really committed. You aren't really willing. And that commitment, like in the old third dimension way of like hustle commitment. No, the true commitment to me in this game that we're playing now, this spiritual game, is surrender and trust. And then not just that, but what energy are you bringing? Like, what are you bringing to surrender and trust? Are you just talking about the game? Or if the game gets hard, now you don't want to surrender and trust? Because that's when you got to do it the most. When everybody else is panicking and running, yeah, that's the time to open your heart. But this is why you see, you know, you can't forgive people and open your heart once and be on the stained mirror at church. You know what I mean? You got to keep opening the heart, right? It doesn't happen. It's not like you can't go to the gym one time and look like JR, you know? It doesn't happen. But yeah, opening the heart, man, was and then having an experience of that, Jay, and then just learning, once the heart opened, Jay, you know, the magic that happened, I was able to be in the present moment. And then you can see everything. Right now, you're just a witness, because once you're in the present moment, then magic happens. But we are so, and myself included at times too, I can go back to the old program. We're so bringing the past into the future, and we live there, and we hop right over the kind of like this mic is in the middle. We hop right over the present. So you literally copy the past and bring it to the future. So you take the predictable past and you copy it into the familiar future. Those are his words, right? So, but in the present moment is where the magic happens, is where you can be present, is where the heart opens, is where you can trust and surrender, is where God conscious exists, you know, consciousness, infinite intelligence, right? God source. Like that's where oneness, it's only in the present moment. But you can't get there with the closed heart. And you can't get there in the 3D character of the headset. JR, who plays the 3D headset of JR, who I love that JR, but he can't get there if he's playing that role. He's got to go as pure consciousness. He's got to go as pure love. You with me?
It's probably a little bit above my pay grade, but I do hear a couple things that are easier to grasp for me where I am on my journey, and the one is the one that we always talk about, letting go. And I had a similar experience, and I like the way the guy described it, because I was at a retreat with my dad, a men's retreat put on by the Catholic Church, and there was this firefighter who was giving his story and his witness, and the big thing that he talked about was he was an alpha. You know, he's going to go out there and save lives. He's going to go out there and do his thing. And he just kept talking about how life was hard because he kept trying to live his plan. And he kept on trying to live his plan. And he's like, damn, man, my plan sucks. Till one day he said, I'm going to let go and I'm going to live his plan. And if you're not watching right now, I pointed up to the sky and I'm saying his, capital H, like God. I'm going to live his plan and see how that goes. And that's what I hear you saying, is surrendering and being in touch with the planner, the creator, the guy that's running things, and letting that work through you, where I think that ties back to something you said a couple episodes ago. I could have made a whole lot more money with a whole lot less work, right? That was something that you said and hit me, because I'm like, damn, man, I have always hustled for my money because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And maybe Johnny's plan is not so good. And I'm with you in the being able to let go allows us to be in touch and to find the peace and joy that I think we're looking for.
And it's always there, you know, and where
we're
do you
tapping in.
Yeah. And where do you meet him? But where would you meet him? But inside in the open heart. He can't meet you anywhere else, my brother. He can't come meet you. He will not meet you anywhere else. This is revealed to me through meditation as well. I can only meet you in the open heart. And the sacred place of the open heart is the only place I can meet you. In the sanctuary of the open heart that then leads the mind. Yeah, I'll meet you there and I'll speak to you there. And I'll speak quite loudly to you and I'll speak directly to you.
And you better listen, you knucklehead.
You will. Because it feels so good to listen, because you're in the present moment. You don't want, it's not like once you're there, like it takes some work to get there and recondition the body, this, the flesh to stay there. But once you love yourself enough to overcome yourself and get there, then that feels good so much that you don't need to condition that. Like it's not like other things in our life that we need to condition to make them feel good. Just being there, you feel whole, you feel present, you feel calm, you feel safe. So like that's already like that's already like the nugget, not to get there, but it doesn't need any extra, reward. Being there is reward, which makes a lot of sense, right?
Does it? It could be too esoteric. Let's come back to an idea that hit me this week, and I wanted to run it by you, especially right now as you're talking with this energy, with this new perspective. I had this weird thought, I don't know, walking through my day today or yesterday, and it went like this. Man, I've never been more comfortable in my skin than I am right now. And it's a weird thing. And I feel like you might be hitting that zone too. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are?
One of the other things that happened during this thing, and we were already like chomping at the bit. We were already kind of like flirting with it, but this just came more clear, is once you keep overcoming yourself, Jay, once you keep showing up for yourself, like for you with 75 hard, you keep showing up and you keep showing up and you keep showing up. Over time, the animal that you've conditioned, the body, I'm calling the body the animal, right? That you've conditioned with the old habits and the old things you used to do, right? So now the animal has taken over the mind. The animal thinks it's the mind, and it is the mind because it's telling you what to do. And it takes some time to tame that horse. It does, because it's running, right? The prisoners are running the asylum, right? The animal has gone crazy, and now you've got to tame the animal back. And the animal, hey, this time's my coffee. Hey, Jay, we don't usually work out like this, right? So you're going to get a lot of resistance from the internal and a lot from the external, mostly internal. Once you, Jay, settle on that horse and you continue to settle down, you say, hey, tranquilo, hey, chill, aquí, boy, down. We're going to get you the cup, chill. And once you overcome yourself and you show Goliath that he's not in charge, that you are in charge, this concept of I am, right? I am in charge. I am the creator. I am in charge here. It ultimately not only surrenders to you, because it's meant to serve you, it trusts you. The body's like, okay, I still might kick and fight every once in a while, but I trust you. And, there's a lot of talk in the positive motivation space about people like, you don't honor the promises you keep to yourself. How the heck are you going to honor a promise you make to yourself when you got a broken heart? Like what in what world am I going to keep a promise to myself when at some level I don't love myself? I don't trust myself. How can I trust someone who I don't love? It's not possible. So what this taught me is, hey, from overcoming myself really is an act of self-love. Every time you get into prayer or meditation and the thought goes, or the monkey mind goes, you go somewhere else, but you bring that back, man, that's a win. Man, that's a good day. And if it takes me 1,000 times, that's a life well lived. It takes me sometimes 1,000 times a day for me. Hey, he's gone. All right. Well, where'd he go? I don't know. He's coming back. Right. And that happens to everybody. This is part of the process. But to me, the biggest act of self-love is you bringing yourself back. I don't care how many times it takes, Jay. And I don't care what the cost is. And then eventually this machine, it trusts you. It surrenders to you. It says, okay, you're in charge. I can trust you. So, and then you feel comfortable in your skin because you have that self-love, Jay. And it's always been there, right? Right? Because if you believe that you're made in the image of, and so do I, then if you're made in the image of, then a part of that is a part of you, right? Concept of my father and I are one, right? A part of him is a part of me. So we can simplify the commandments to love yourself. If you love yourself, you automatically love your neighbor. You can automatically see the neighbor because that same self, that same one self is in both of you. And if the Father is a part of you, because your Father and I are one, by loving yourself, you love him. We just got to really get back to that self-love piece, man. And then, then you're real comfortable in your skin because you're not looking for self-love in the outside world, bro.
There's a couple different ways I can go with this. So let's start with the fun way. and then we'll come back to the other piece that I had. But we have talked over and over again about surrender, about letting go. We're not in control. And then when you explain that about taming the animal, right? You said, "Hey, we're in control of taming the animal." So how do we know where we're in control and where we're not in control?
Well, that's an easy one, Jay. Ask your wife. Right? Or ask your kids. You're laughing because it's true, right? Like, where did you go unconscious? At the end of the day, you and I have a good series of questions. Hey, Ray, if I had a chance to do this all over again, where, like, the last time we spoke about this, Jay, you said, hey, where would your friends know that you were a Christian, right? Yeah.
How? Yeah, from when you get up.
From when you get up. For me, it's like, where did I go unconscious? The moment you go unconscious, you're back in the animal. It's the old program.
Mm-hmm.
The moment Jay goes to the old program of scarcity, of lack, of separation, of closing the heart, we're out of it. We lost the Wi-Fi signal. Joe calls it the Wi-Fi signal. If the heart's not open, mind's not coherent, lost the Wi-Fi. Stop. Go get the Wi-Fi. And then come back. You get me, Jay?
Yeah, and it's something that I'm working on, and so it's
Jay, we all are, bro.
I mean, right, it's a work in progress. But like
Come on.
I told you, I do the prayers and then I go about my day. And that's one of the things I'm looking for, is the way that I'm thinking about it is when I lose touch with that higher being, I need to come back. And that's the way that you're explaining it, is losing the Wi-Fi signal between the heart and the head. And for me now, it's like I'm trying to get an afternoon prayer in before my evening prayer so that I can tap back in, reboot the system, get back connected so that I can continue living the life of intention that he put here for me, right? And so here's the other one I'm struggling with, and I think this could be a big well, let's talk about it, because I wonder what you mean when you talk about the Christ consciousness. A lot of that's over my head, but lately the thing that's playing over and over again for me is I think that, for me at least, my definition now of the Christ consciousness is seeing Christ in all the people in our day. And so if we can bring that to our day, we're really vibrating at a higher level. We're connecting, right? We're tapped into him and now tapping into them. But I'm not sure if that's what you mean by the Christ consciousness, but it's something that I'm working on now so that I'm not so damn mean.
What I love what you're working on is that you're working on definitions of things. So I've always called the Christ consciousness the true consciousness of who we really are. Christ is just the example of it, but we all are Christ consciousness in our being, because we all are the child of God, right? That consciousness is already inside of us. We're already a part of it. It's already in the system. We just got to see it, right? Jay, you can only see the Christ of that other person, the child of God, and the other brother of yours, if you see it in yourself. You can't see that in another which you're not willing to see in yourself. You got to be willing to receive that, hey, I am that as well. Otherwise, how could I see the I am in the other? You've got to, you got to be willing to receive. You got to be willing to receive, Jay, the love of God. If you're not willing to receive that in your heart and be worthy of that, then how can you, right? Life hasn't begun. I like in the way of the heart, it says that well. Life hasn't begun until you can see from the eyes of Christ, from your eyes out there, from the eyes of Christ, and see only the Christ before you. You haven't lived. You've dreamed. You've had illusions. To see truth is to see the divine in your brother, to see the magic of him, not to fall for the illusions of him and see by perception, judge by appearances. Right? Don't let the senses fool you, but see truth. See the heart of your brother, the one heart we all share. And then you can love your brother like yourself. And by doing that, you raise the vibration of the entire planet, not just you and him, right? This is what love does. It's like a giant game of hide and go seek that God's playing with all of us to get back to love.
How was you said there was 1,500 people there? Was that intimidating or inspiring? How's that work?
Man, it was a lot of things initially, but I had been to before, so I was a little more comfortable. The other thing that I'll share with you, Jay, we spoke about self-love and the open heart and these things. The other thing is perspective, man. that came up. You know, you and I spoke about that, but there was a lot of people. This lady, Monique, I was helping her. Her husband, something happened. He had a stroke. He was like out for 3 months, like in a coma. And then when he came back, he lost all bodily function. So in essence, he like was a vegetable, in a vegetative state. So she shows up with him there, like, dude, like in a deathbed, like she's got to pick him up and put him down and lay him down in this, like almost like a stretcher thing. And I'm so then as I'm opening up the heart, I get, you know, she's my buddy. She's like my, like kind of, she's sitting next to me. So, cause I'm on the floor laid out, like stretching, like I don't sit in regular chairs. I just like, I don't like sitting. So I'm talking to her and she's in great shape and say, hey, what happened? And, you know, he had a stroke, etc. And then she starts like, you know, she starts like to cry a little bit. I'm like, what happened? You know, like after the third or fourth day, you know, I get upset and I get frustrated sometimes and I take things out on him, you know, because like I really like, you know, I spend all night, I bathe him, I shower him, I have to feed him. And then I bring him here, you know, and, you know, we have to travel, right? So you can't just travel on a plane, right? Things are different like that. And, you know, I've lost my work and employment because I've got to take care of him full time. And he chose to come out of the coma and be here with us. So we're coming here for healings and he's part of the meditations. And she walks him and they have an 80-pound pit bull as a service dog that they bring with them. And I said, look, man, like, Monique, I don't know how I could help you. Like my heart's here with you. Like I don't know what to do, but if there's anything I can do to help you in any way possible, you know, you let me know. And I'll share kind of how I was able to help. What it really showed me, Jay, is the stuff that you and I call a problem or the stuff that people get caught up in isn't really a problem. And even within her problems, someone like that, they could still find joy, they could still find peace, right? That's just their life journey. And Jay, there was a lot of people like that, like her name, Marlene, another lady I met, 11-year-old daughter. That could be my son or your daughter, my daughter or your son. One day, hey, had a seizure, couldn't return, kept having seizures. The whole family, Jay, from Cuba, the whole family came to the event. So I'm watching this 11-year-old girl in a wheelchair talking through an iPad and saying yes and no like this, right? And your heart, like if you're a dad or you're a parent, your heart just goes out like number one, right? But then as you start to open the heart, you're like, wait, let me back up a second. There's a mom who probably went through 20 different doctors and has given up her entire career to take care of this girl, right? Because she's not going to the bathroom, right? Like this is how it is. The sister can't play with the sister, right? And every time the girl has a seizure, she gets worse. So they've got to stop the seizure then to heal the condition. Again, can barely speak, you know, speaking like this, can barely look at, you know, right? So paralyzed, for lack of a better term, right? Completely. And so I'm talking to her again. Took me some courage. You know, the father came through me, open channel, said, hey, go help. No. Hey, go. And then you get a second, hey, go help. No. The third time, okay. I'm gonna go help. So I sat next to her. She was from Miami. We had a good conversation. I go, look, I don't know what I can help. I have some great doctors in Miami that can help. I mentioned the name of the doctor that I go see, and he happened to be that they know him, but they couldn't get an appointment with him. And I go, well, him and I are very close friends. He's been on the podcast with me that you did. So I gave her the podcast. And I go, if you need an intro, let me know. He's taking on new patients, you know. And if there's anything I could do, I got her number, you know, so we'll stay in touch, you know. But you know, Jay, as you think about someone and go to a Joe Dispenza event for healing, that family must have been through 20 doctors. The chaos between the husband and the wife now, right? Because you know that's going to create some trauma in the relationship, right? And then the sister relationship trauma. And then the mom and the stress and like the mom and then the abuela was there too, right? You're going to go to una meditación de 7 días. Right? Because now you're like out of conventional medicine because you're at a place now where conventional medicine has failed you. So you know, but she got better. The girl, you know, the little girl got better, and it just goes. My point in all that, guys, is like, yeah, what we're going through is important, and you know, us and our numbers is important, and the workout and these kind of things. But sometimes, at least for me, Jay, I don't work I'm not like a medical doctor. I'm not something where I have a lot of things that bring me perspective like that. I'm not in those areas. But like having a close connection with these people and opening up my heart to them, man, fed my soul, bro. Like you think you're serving them, but man, it feeds your soul when you can just kind of, you know, and how I ended up helping was connecting with Kirby, and the pit bull was tired. So I took the pit bull for a run. And then when I gave the pit bull back to the owner, even with him in a coma, he could tell that the dog was calm and relaxed and happy. And it made him, like, you could tell it made him smile a little bit. That's all I could help. And that's what the Father wanted me to do. Like, so sometimes, guys, when you open up the heart, it's as simple as like opening the door for somebody else or just saying hello for a moment. Sometimes seeing the Christ in the other person and seeing him could be and sometimes it's nothing, but sometimes it's as simple as like taking a dog for a run. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't have to be anything crazy complicated. And it'll tell you, once you open up the heart, it'll tell you, hey, go there. Hey, go there. And then you're like, no, 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 right? Don't fight it like me, right? I'm cocotazo like Jay, right? Don't fight it. But once you open the heart, it'll tell you. He'll speak to you. And it always speaks of love. The open heart only wants to the open heart can only speak of love. Can't speak of anything else.
So there's a new theme that's coming up over and over again. And I know that you guys out there are picking up on it. So let's get ready to break down this idea of service, because all this leading up to now, we've talked about working on yourself, changing, being in communion, communicating, surrender. But we haven't talked about acts of service so much. And I hear that differently in you today. Why is that coming up so much?
You know, Jay, I think that the biggest piece is like the biggest act we can do is love ourselves. And if every morning, at least for me, for the last few mornings, I'm overcoming myself and loving myself, I'm showing up. And how do you love yourself? Man, you show up for yourself. You're like, you know what? It's not okay for me to go unconscious. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to be patient with myself. I train this animal, so I get to be patient and compassionate, because beating the animal up doesn't work, Jay, right? What did he do? Forgive them, for they know not what they do, right? He knew that they didn't know. They were unconscious. His open heart wouldn't let him judge. The open heart doesn't judge. They're unconscious, right? So step one is you got to show up for yourself, man. You got to love yourself enough to show up for yourself. And once you overcome yourself and the heart is open, there's nothing else but to give, right? Because by giving it, now you increase it. Now you feel more of it, and you're not doing it with that intention. It's just the way it was. It's just part of the design. I didn't design it. I'm just saying what I've experienced is, but you can't give out of a closed heart, because you're not full yourself. So open up the heart, and then as you give, you'll receive more, right? Because part of the giving is receiving. And then that's what you want to do ultimately. You want to serve that. And then you're like just more calm with people. You're more patient. You're more compassionate. And you never judge a brother. Why would you? Because you close the heart. Every time you judge somebody else or you say something like that, you judge. So you give more compliments. I'm nicer to people. Like I'm just more pleasant, you know, and I because I'm loving myself first. It's an act. The toughest, the biggest part is if you can love yourself first in the morning. And what do I mean by that? Showing up for yourself, overcoming yourself. Oh, I don't want to meditate. I don't want to have a relationship. I get that in the morning. I get that. I get that. I'm getting up at 5 in the morning. My meditations now went from maybe 30, 40 minutes to like an hour and a half. Wow. Minimum. And at 5 in the morning, not later. So I'm getting up before anybody. And it's hard sometimes getting up out of bed, but I'm like, hold on, why am I doing this? Man, because I'm loving myself. Because I want to prove to myself, Jay, that I am the creator in my life. I am meant to create. I am a creator. I don't want to be an effect in the world. And this is the realm of demonstration. You and I, Jay, as brothers, we get to go out and demonstrate this. It's not enough for you and me to talk about it. The harder part is, can we live it? Can we demonstrate it? Can we show kindness? Can we show compassion? And that's already giving it. But we got to live it. We got to embody it. We got to demonstrate it, right? Our teacher demonstrated, and he was a healer too, right? So we can heal. Sometimes it's just walking a dog.
Or running a dog.
Or running a dog on the beach, which is great. My daughters had a great time, right? So
that's one of the things that came up over the weekend. Faith and acts. It's not enough to go read the word. It's not enough to go think about the word. It's acts. Act on the word. And like you're saying, demonstrate. And that's part of being a man. And I think that's what's missing. A lot of guys out there don't have this, and I feel bad for them. Don't know what it is to be a man. And you said it right there. Love yourself, demonstrate that you care, be connected to him, capital H, pointing up here, him, and that love flows through your family. So I've been thinking about the acts as well. It goes along with the Christ consciousness, seeing the Christ in the other person without a nice comment or a smile or something is not enough. And I don't have a smiley face, so it really hurts me to try to smile. But you just keep doing it, keep getting your reps, and keep trying to make
it. But you know what?
Something that
as the heart opens, Jay, as you smell that flower in the heart, in the sacred sanctuary of the heart, and you smell that, and it continues to open, you naturally want to smile. Like, it's just you just naturally want to smile because it's like you're worthy, Jay, of receiving. You're worthy of the Father's love. And like, why would you not smile? Like that, the natural thing to do is to share it. And sometimes someone needs a smile. So maybe that's something about you overcoming you, for
Of
them.
course.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're meant to be happy. You're meant to be joyous, right?
Well, something else you said that's interesting that came up quite a lot in our men's retreat. And look, they thought I was the young guy there, probably because I shaved my head. They didn't see the gray hairs, but they're like, look at this boy. So I'm surrounded by old men, and a lot of them had that same struggle, and I didn't realize it. But am I worthy? That's a real struggle.
Mm,
Am I worthy
yeah,
of
man.
this?
Yeah. No, it's
That's
it's you know what it is underneath worthiness, Jay? What I got to like on this weekend, just kind of journaling and meditating on it. Wholeness. There's this idea of separation, right? Because if you think you're the character in this 3D headset, if you believe that you're JR and not the son of, right, not your true self, what happened? We spoke about this. Hey, I wonder what it would be like to not be at oneness, to not be at one with the Father, to not be in pure consciousness, to not be pure love. I wonder how it would be like to create differently. You have free will. So that was a thought. Hey, I wonder what it would like to be create. As soon as that happened, Jay, now Jay's over here, Ray's over here, and there's an illusion of space. So if I want to get to JR, it's going to take some time. And now because we're separate, we suffer. Why do we suffer? Because you're not supposed to be separate, right? Automatically, as you're separate, you suffer. So then we go out and we play this virtual reality headset game, and we accumulate things and do things and action. It's hard, and we get things, but as the things we get, they never make us whole, right? Because we're separate, and we're looking for things here to make us whole. Never happened. We're looking for our worthiness in the material. You can even feel it as I say it to you, Jay. How crazy is that? Your worthiness is of God. Your worthiness will never be found in the material. Even in our worthiness, as you and I teach and share this, our worthiness is in there. Our worthiness is a part of us. Our worthiness is given by grace. It's our divine inheritance, if you will. So if we're trying to prove worthiness out in the external world, that'll never work. Worthiness of receiving or wholeness. Because these things that we get, Jay, let's say some people, we know the circles, they get very good at the VR headset, at getting things and doing things and that at that game. But it never makes them feel whole at the soul level. It never makes them feel fulfilled, and it never makes them feel worthy. There's always the next thing because you're always separate.
Yeah, I can see that the chasm growing the more you accumulate, and yet the gap just keeps getting bigger and bigger from what you're really looking for. I think that's where I felt lucky being around those old guys and how their life experiences and how long it took them to get things and or get this thing, the truth, the path, and how they were separated, like you said, for all those years and suffering. That's the one thing I felt lucky being around those old guys saying, "Oh man, I feel," and maybe that's why I was having that thought this week of I never felt more comfortable in my skin. It's just like, oh, I feel like I've tapped into something and it's working
Yep.
and I want more of it.
Yes.
And it doesn't cost anything.
No.
All it is time and attention.
Yes. But Jay, that time and attention, you're not on Instagram and on Facebook and on TikTok. It does. Attention, where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and once you tap into that God frequency, which we can all tap into, but it takes willingness and it takes effort because you got to get out of the old program. You can't go there, Jay, if you want to connect with him, you can't go there as, the puny JR with fear. You got to go there with intention, with desire, with commitment. Okay. I mean, as soon as I go in there like that on those meditations, all right, let's go. Let's connect. Let's go. Let's work. Right. Because you're opening the heart. Yeah, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there anytime. But if you go in there and you're not really committed and you're thinking about something else, or you bring your phone with you or whatever, like, and again, I'm not saying anything against guided meditation, like you do you. Sometimes I'll do guided meditation, sometimes I'll do, silent meditations or whatever. But it's more about the intention and the energy. What are you bringing to this time to commune? What are you bringing to it? What effort are you bringing? So this is kind of like where this event really up-leveled this. I thought I was pretty strong in my practice, but this said there's another level. And same thing in my, and the weird thing, ironically, Jay, the same thing is happening in my fitness now. I met a few other guys that
Uh-oh.
they're ramping things up. But I'm like, cool, I'm ready for it. And the reason it could work now is because now I'm getting up earlier to do this work. I'm getting up earlier to commune, and then I have time to go connect with them. But yeah, a lot of it, a lot of it's just you overcoming yourself, guys, and making the commitment. There's no easy way around. I mean, I wish there was like a way where we could tell them, Jay, like stay, keep doing what you're doing if you want something different, right? It's just not gonna happen,
Let's talk about that. I mean, we've all had it. You talked about the death of the old self, and it seems kind of scary. And I know because I've been through it. I know it takes a lot.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how did you tame? No, you actually have to kill the old self to be the new self, don't you? It's not just taming, right?
Well, it's taming the old self, but then eventually that old self says,
Die.
You're the master. I will align with your wit. It's just fighting you because you trained it the old way. It's a loving animal. You taught it to be that way. You taught it to be distracted. You taught it to be of the world and in the world. You can retrain the animal. The animal loves you. You just mistrained it. It's a puppy. It's your puppy. You just mistrained the puppy. You are in control here. You can, the higher level JR, the Christ of JR, the Christ conscience of JR, can still use the avatar of JR for great things and can give him a beautiful smile. But if you identify as a character in a 3D headset, there's a disconnect. So he will work through you through that character. Does that make sense, Jay? I could probably explain that better.
No, it's so I'm having just a different thing with it because I do get what we're saying about retraining, and I think I'm in a position of saying that fuck him, that one's no good anymore, and cut them off and start a new one, fresh. And that's kind of what I look at.
Hold on, maybe we're saying two different things. Anything that isn't love must die. That false self, you're dying to that false self daily.
That's the guy.
Yeah, that false self, you're dying to that. Yeah, the person who doesn't
how do you kill that guy?
Love,
wait, right? How do you kill that guy? That's the one. That's what I'm talking about. How do you kill that guy? The false self.
You know the answer.
I don't know if I know the answer. What's your answer?
The heart's answer? You forgive and you give him love. That's what he needs too. Remember, if you fight something, you empower it, Jay. If you forgive it, you heal it. And only the heart can heal. Only love can heal, Jay.
Forgive it.
Think about it.
It's the big revelation, though, right?
Yeah. 77 times 7, right?
Forgive it to heal it, right? Forgive it
to heal it.
And for the new guy. That's fascinating. Have you ever, now, because I've done it, and I didn't realize it was forgiveness that killed them, but now that you mentioned it is. Hi, Bendito. You didn't know what you were doing. Get out of here.
we're all works in progress. A couple of other things that come up because I do want to say a couple other things on that I kind of learned and had some experiences with at the event. Yeah, Jay, if you stay in that old VR headset and you don't get the messages, you're gonna get hit by a dark night of the soul. Trauma's coming because the soul then says, "Hey, these things in the material world aren't giving me fulfillment. So I'm drinking, I'm doing all this stuff." And we spoke about this before, escapism. But eventually you get to a place where that doesn't work. And then the soul has a dark night of the soul, says, okay. And for some people that comes to them, if they're playing a video game, think about it. They get hit by a bulldozer, or they get hit by a wrecking ball, right? And this could be cancer, divorce, these kind of traumas because they're not getting the message. And the soul is just revolting. And now at this point they're at a place where they're open for something new because now they're at a place where well, look, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't care what the cost is. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care about anything else but this. Once the soul has got their whole attention, now they're open because now they're searching. Now they're all right, and they're clear that this old self doesn't work anymore. They're at least got some distance, and that's kind of the guys that we're talking to. That they're like, all right, this isn't fulfilling me at the soul level anymore, and the soul will not. You cannot tame the animal now. That animal is saying, we are no longer doing this. And sometimes, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's just the way the world is. I'm not judging it. It comes through trauma, and now it doesn't have to come through trauma because Jay, I saw kids at the event. I saw 8, 10-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids connecting to the divine. Jay, how beautiful is that? that they don't have to wait. Like our kids can do that. You know what I mean? Like we can start them off early so they don't have to go through this trauma, you know, and they can create, they realize that they're not at effect in the world, that they're the cause in the world, right? I am the law, I am the way, I am the truth. I am the cause of my life. Water be still. Water be still. That wasn't about him still in the water. I'm over the material. I command the material world from the ethereal world, from the illusion, from the real world, which is not the world of the senses, from the world of my mind, from my thoughts and my emotions. I create upon material. I am law on the material. That's what that means. I am law on the material. That's what he's talking about. I am law on the material. The material isn't law on me. Hey, I'm going to be joy when I get the money. No, I'm going to be joy now and the money's going to come. I am abundance. And if I am abundance and I'm worthy of receiving abundance and I am one with abundance and I'm whole, well, then shit, abundance finds me because I'm not separate from it. Money finds me because money is the fruit of abundance. You get me? But you got to get there and you got to stay there. And you got to retrain the personality, the mind and the body to live there now. You have to be abundant now before it ever shows up. And then it shows up. You can't wait for your abundance to feel abundant. But the same way you train the body in the past, you can train in the future. But yeah, it takes effort. Yeah, and it's hard. Yeah, no, you're gonna doubt. Yeah, that's all there. And you can argue for your limitations. And you can keep them. If you argue from them, you keep them.
On them, right?
Yeah. You can keep your old story, right? You can keep the old story that keeps you in the past and creates the future. You can keep that, but it's not gonna get you where you want to go. And you're gonna stay in suffering this whole time because the curriculum is not optional. You can choose not to take it. God's curriculum is not optional. The heart curriculum, not optional. You can choose out of your own free will, hey, I'm not going to take the course now. You're going to suffer. And you're going to come back and repeat that, bitch. It's just what the way it is. God, the universe, infinite source, the galaxy wants us to evolve. Right? So this is a giant school, and that's what we're doing. And you either you get the lessons now or you get them later, but you suffer if you choose later. But you will get them. And it gets more painful if you don't get them.
Every time they come back, right?
Every time. The longer you delay, because he's not getting your attention. But yeah, ultimately, you know, the soul wants to create the way the divine created. You want to create, ultimately, you want to go back to true creator. Because we spoke about this before. When you make things in the world and you force outcomes and you're making from survival and scarcity, you're at lack, you're separate from it. So the getting of the thing only has more lack because now you got the thing, but you still feel empty and not whole, right? So, but there's another way to create, which we're talking about, is you create from source, you create from oneness, you're oneness with the divine, you're not separate from it. And then you create by having an elevated emotion in the heart, opening the heart, and having a coherent mind, placing that thought out in the ethers, placing that thought out to God, placing that thought out there. Right, as a part of you in the present moment, you feel into that thought, you become that thought, you train the body to have whatever it is you're looking to have and be now. So now you're in essence, Jay, loving yourself enough. You're loving that future you here, so that future you and that current you are being almost drawn together. Your heart is drawing out that future you. Yes, he's pulling it towards you, but not like law of attraction. You already it. Why would you go look for it if you feel like you already are it? So when you leave the prayer, you leave the meditation, or you leave whatever you leave, you're whole, you're worthy, you're complete. You are that. And you do that enough, and you teach your nervous system and your body and your mind and your emotions that we already are this thing, and we have this thing, and we are whatever it is you're looking to create. And it doesn't mean you don't take action, Jay. It doesn't mean you don't go out there and like do nothing. No, but you got the universe on your side. It's God. Now you're following God's plan. He's like, holy shit, my son is creating the way I taught him to create. He's complimenting me because I made him in that way. I made him in pure love. I made him in no separation. I made him in no time. I made him in no space. I became no one, no time, and no space, and nowhere, and made my son like that. And now my son is emulating me in his creations. You don't think he's going to support that? So this is what co-creation means, Jay. And then the how and the when isn't up to you. That's none of your business.
Yeah,
that's none of your.
The hard part.
Yeah, but surrendering to the process, and then the weird thing, how you know you're doing it right, which I'm going to be practicing. If we created in no time and no space, Jay, it should come by coincidence. It should come by serendipities. It should come in awe us. It should tickle us. It should be coincidences. It should be mystical. Should it not? Because if we know how we're going to get it, when it's going to happen, then it's predictable, right? And now if we live in the VR headset and something unpredictable happens, it's inconvenient. You know, the JR that runs around and picks up his son, all that stuff. If the magic of the universe happened, it's inconvenient. You know what I mean? But now we're looking for it. I'm not like looking, but it's
open.
I'm open. Yes, I can. I'm looking. Not. Oh yeah, I'm open. That's a great word. I'm open to the miracles.
Right.
And you're not attached anymore, Jay.
Oh, I get it. That's what Cupcake and I talk about all the time. We got to ditch the checklist and be open. We work on it daily now.
We all do, man.
Let it be. We got this. We know we're on the path. We know that he set the path, and he wants us to walk the path. So we just need to say yes and take the steps.
And it's not an easy thing, Jay. But I think eventually, as you do it more, as you practice, you become better and better at it. And it's just a commitment to the practice. And then when you want to practice least, keep showing up for yourself, guys. And if you fall off, you're gonna fall off. Jay and I fall off all the time. Also, I fall off all the time. Get back on the horse.
There's no shame in that
at all.
Where I think, you know what it reminds me of? It is Cupcake talking to me about eating and my diet, and we're going out tonight. I might have a big meal, and she's talking about, oh, that's all right, one bad day or one bad weekend. I'm like, no, it's one bad meal. Next meal up is right back on. And so that the little blip in the radar of us falling off is nothing when we start looking at the big picture that we are creating.
And maybe it isn't falling off. Maybe you're giving yourself a treat. Maybe you enjoy it, right? Like sometimes I'll want dessert. Sometimes I'll want something, I'll desire something. Enjoy it. It's almost like you made yourself a delicious meal. The creator made you one meal. And you're like, and you're thinking about the next one because I'll get back on track then. Then you're not enjoying the present moment. I cooked you up this amazing meal. Enjoy it. Right. And we're not trained like that, guys. I get it. Trust me, as much as I'm preaching it, I need to live it too. But it helps me share it, teach it, whatever you want to call this. And I could use some help to living in the present moment. But I'll tell you what, as you guys overcome yourselves and you labor for the present moment, like you get there and you feel that bliss, you feel that peace, you feel that joy for no reason. You feel connected to everything and at every time. And you feel at one with everything, it was worth it. All the work, all the overcoming myself, all the not getting sleep, all the I'm tired, all the extra capacitos to keep me up. It was worth it. I never got to the present moment. I never connected with the divine and said, you know what, I don't want more of that. And every time I think that there isn't more love, that I can't go deeper, there's always more.